Here we have the Hinoki Cypress, or false cypress. The Latin name is chamaecyparis obtusa, and it is a cypress from Japan. And it's widely available in the horticultural trade, and there are many different cultivars. This particular cultivar is the Southern Lace cultivar that I purchased from wilsonbrothersgardens.com. And it's characterized by a more typical conical conifer shape that you would expect from a cypress. A lot of the other cultivars are dwarf or have unusual foliage textures. This is the most upright, normal branching structure, normal growing that I could find, but you can see I've still got it tied up here because it doesn't have the strongest vertical tendency, and I want to keep it growing straight. But it's put on a decent amount of growth in the first year that I had it in the ground. One of the concerns for this tree is whether or not it'll be affected by Phomopsis tip blight. It looks like there's a little brown foliage here that could be due to Phomopsis, or we have been having some really hot, dry weather, so maybe that's just normal foliage drop during a drought situation, because I don't really see any problems at the tips. So we'll see. They're not the most reliable plant in Tennessee, and I basically just have it for the sake of having that species. But in my opinion, if you want to avoid a lot of fungal problems, you want a more open branching structure, as opposed to some of the dwarf ones, which are very compact, and that would prevent the flow of air through the foliage, which leads to increased fungal growth. So this open branching structure of Southern Lace, plus the added benefit of this being one of the fastest growing cultivars of Chamaecyparis obtusa, make this an ideal choice in my opinion. A lot of the other cultivars can be very slow growing. It does have a very light, kind of apple green color foliage. It's not as dark as some of the other Chamaecyparis obtusas. I don't know if that's this particular specimen reacting to the stress of being planted in full sun or what, but still looks healthy though. And there's, other than those two little bits of brown that I showed you, there's hardly a brown needle anywhere on it. And speaking of the foliage, one other interesting thing about this, the underside has those white powdery stomatal bands. Give the underside an interesting color. So maybe when it gets bigger and we're looking at it from below, it'll have a little bit of a two-tone coloration to it. But this one has done pretty well. Southern Lace Hinoki Cypress.